the first Aishel that is discussed in the Torah. It says that Abraham planted an Aishel in the desert. He created an oasis for weary travelers to be able to rest their weary heads, to be able to quench their thirst. When people are coming to the hospital and they need to be treated for life-threatening illnesses, they're traveling through their own desert. That can be very, very grueling, and oftentimes people can feel very alone. What we strive to accomplish at Aishel House is not only to provide the physical space where people can rest, but a place where people can rest emotionally as well. An oasis where they can have that peace in their lives. Rachel and I moved here 30 years ago with the intent of serving the community around us and the university across the street.
After the passing of my daughter, we wanted to do something in her memory, and we started to bring challahs to patients in the hospital. It came to a point where somebody told my husband that the challahs are very nice, but he doesn't have where to stay.
After one particularly heartrending experience with a person who wasn't able to find a place, I was motivated to find a place that we could open up as a hospitality apartment for patients in the medical center. Very quickly, we realized that one apartment was not going to be enough.
I recall very vividly sitting at the Shabbos table one Friday night, and Rachel was telling me about this place that she was going to name Aishel House. It was just a dream. It was just a vision.
I cannot tell you the number of people said, it's never going to happen. Never been able to provide beautiful places for patients.
We approached a number of generous people in the community who helped us with some of the seed money. Over time, we were able to assemble enough property to build the Aishel House that we have today.
It's just been an amazing experience watching it over the years just come to fruition, and not just come to fruition, but really build and explode.
My name is Agnes Santo. I'm originally from Hungary, from Budapest. I ended up living in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm a math professor there. I came here to the MD Anderson Cancer Center for treatment, and I'm here for this clinical trial.
We knew it was going to be a little upsetting to our life, obviously our routines. Pack up and come here versus doing it locally, for example. We knew MD Anderson was our best shot at this, so it was worth, coming here.
I was looking for affordable housing. I just met the rabbi. He checked if they have anything, and they did.
It was back actually in August. I had issues with the kidneys, and so my doctor sent me right away to the hospital in Boca. They found that I had a tumor on the pancreas, just beginning stages of pancreatic cancer. I called my son David here. Houston, we have a problem. David flew in, and then he flew me back here to Houston to meet with the oncologist. In the meanwhile, I was staying in David's house. My children got together and decided that I should come to the Aishel House.
I've never been in a place like this before. The other guests here going through hard times, but I think everybody here realizes that this is a community of people.
I know logically that I'm sick and anything can happen, but I try not to get into that thought.
All of us share something in common. All are fighting for something to stay alive.
Aishel House is an endeavor that no one person could do on their own. It's so many of the people here who volunteer of their time and are there for the people who are here in every way they possibly can.
Sometimes I've come and worked in the kitchen. You usually arrive and there's a few ladies getting ready and Rachel's usually there barking instructions and making sure everything's going smoothly. And we just, take a recipe and start working.
From a young age, I always went with my father. I remember driving to deliver meals to a patient in a hospital.
I remember how the car would always smell so wonderful on a Friday of that Shabbos food, and it sort of set me in the mood for, Shabbat and everything warm and homey.
In other communities, you see the same folks for week in and week out. One thing that we know about Aishel House is that when we see new faces, it's because they're here for a reason.
Living so close to the Texas Medical Center, the community have been the patients who have needed to come here for medical treatment.
Synagogue is very friendly. There's a very homey atmosphere. It's an atmosphere of we're all one family, come and be with us, and you'll be our family. We'll take good care of you the same way we take care of ourselves.
One thing that we've taught our children is we always try to approach new people, new faces.
There was a family that came from Mexico, and the little boy, I think he was 5 when he arrived, was really sick. The relationship that formed was just so beautiful. All of a sudden, my 7 and 5-year-old became so close to this little 6-year-old, to the point where we hosted his 6-year-old birthday party at our house.
My family actually went back to Raleigh, and I just had one more PET scan to take here. And then suddenly, I started to have these extreme high fevers. They sent me to the emergency room, and then in the emergency room, they kept me in the hospital. So there I was, my family out of town, with nothing with me. I was in that one-day close, and I was looking into spending 2 weeks in the hospital. And I was laying in the hospital, my stomach didn't work, I couldn't choose from the menu, I was skipping meals. It really became the highlight when the interns, Henya and Masi, were bringing the food. I don't know why the Ravitzin's food was the only food I could actually eat. But I thought to myself that it was cooked with love. I usually consider myself as an independent woman who can survive anything by myself. And I realized that, yes, I would survive by myself, but it makes a huge difference if there is someone there for you and cares for you.
I think a patient who is critically ill or is hospitalized with a significant illness needs not only the medical treatment, which obviously in the Texas Medical Center is world-renowned, but they crucially need the emotional and psychological support of family, of extended family.
Usually when there's a family member that's ill, people get the medical care, but it's that emotional support one needs. Often there isn't that place.
Families who come here for extended treatment at the medical center, they need a place to call home, a place where they feel not judged, protected, cared for. Aishel House looks like a big home, and that's exactly what it is.
Aishel House is a place where people can feel the embrace of God and the embrace of the Jewish community and the embrace of the general Houston community.
The hallmark of a Jewish community is that they're welcoming and they're open, welcoming guests and taking care of the sick. This is an old Jewish tradition way back from the beginning of time.
Looking at the old Jewish custom of taking care of other people, doing what you can to help others, this tradition has come forward over the centuries.
Looking at our basic biblical stories, we draw a lot of strength and a lot of direction to the work that we do. Avram wasn't a calling. He realized that the world was a place that God gave to man, and it was our responsibility and it was our privilege to create and make godly experiences and moments.
I remember my grandfather, he is from Kretinga, Lithuania. He would do whatever he could to help somebody else in need. To the extent that people from outside of Houston can come and get life-saving treatment in Houston, it is our moral obligation to make their stay as pleasant or as manageable as possible.
Houston doesn't exist in a bubble, and Texas doesn't exist in a bubble, and the United States doesn't exist in a bubble. We are all part of humanity. We are all part of the common good. We have a responsibility not only to our local community, but we have a responsibility to the world.
What I learned is that this kind of selflessness exists in Judaism. It's the center of it, and there is no other reason around it. It is just for the selflessness, just for making the world better. That is really, I did not know that this exists. And I really, lying in the hospital bed, was thinking what I can do to give back something similar.
When we pour a glass of wine for the sanctification of the Shabbos, we always want to pour enough wine that it should spill over. Because when one has blessing, when do we know that the blessing is real? When we have enough that it can overflow and we can give it to others.
We live in such a beautiful city like Houston. It's a city that has access to everything. We have beautiful institutions in the Jewish community and in the community at large. And if we can share this with the people who come through, especially in their time of challenge, we have the most amazing city.
Aishel House really bridges the gaps. It bridges the gaps between rich and poor. It bridges the gaps between religious and non-religious. It bridges the gaps between healthy and people that are not healthy. And it bridges the gap on the continuum of life. It brings people together in a way that's very, very unusual and might provide a model for many other different ways in which we bridge the gap that is, unfortunately too prevalent in society today.
There are couples that come that are very religious, and then we get people that have somebody we're not even Jewish that come here, and we make everybody feel like they belong. And that's I think the success of the Aishel House. It gives people a strength, and it gives people community, and it gives people a resource of spirituality and even of counseling.
Given the circumstances that we are in and what we're going through, that we couldn't have, couldn't have been in a better place than this. I just can't imagine having missed out on what's here. Just the support and the love.
It changed my life.